wonderful to be here. I have been busy with the play, and I didn't act in the play, so I was sort of sitting in my seat wanting to act, so this will be nice. I have about 20 minutes of poetry, and let me just say, Kitty invited me to read with her, and hearing her read, what humanity, right? What humanity in the poems. I felt regaled, and I felt like it was storytelling and just such heart. And I used to be in a workshop with Kitty, but this is all new material, and it was intoxicating to hear you. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for Alina and Jen for doing this. Thank you for my Temple students, a shout out, from my playwriting class and my friends. So I'm going to start with a political, well, you can't avoid the political. Nicholas Kristof, the op-ed writer for the New York Times last year, called for poets to submit poems about Trump because maybe we would get it right where journalists didn't. So I said, I was at Starbucks and I said, oh, let me write a poem about something that did happen, but it's a poem, so it's a lie. So it's somewhat based on the truth. But they published it in the New York Times, and I'm really proud of it. And it's called The Story of the Letter J. A J spray painted on my olive green house in South Philly. Its white hooked tail grazes my daughter's head. A skinhead, says my neighbor Jorge. Un racisto blanco, no entiendo. Holding my hand inside his hand, far longer than any gringo would. He smells of sawdust and cologne. I shoot a picture with my phone of my daughter underneath the J. Evidence is always good to gather. She traces the letter with her small finger. She's just learning about how letters make words and words make sentences. Doesn't yet know sentences can kill. Arbeit macht frei. Sentences can lie. Make America great again. Sentences can heal. I have a dream. She's fished a pen from my bag and draws a K beside the J. A new story begins. Across the street, Mozart seeps out of the second story. 12-year-old Anita from China. Jorge and I look up as if music were something to be seen, as though it were something we could hold on to. I'll paint for you, he says solemnly. It will be like new, like it never happened. This is called Imagined in the 21st Century East of the Mississippi. To be an Eastern European poet circa 1950, too many people stuffed inside small spaces, and you writing quantum poems on large canvases. Do not use the words, grandmother says. Do not play the broken violin, uncle groans, his forehead a map of places that no longer exist. Do not watch the sculptured flag sway in the gray wind, or dream about time in a camp. Your attraction to him when you were both young, those thick Jewish lips trembling in the snow. You should have kissed him then, when language was still half alive, when you could still smell the urge to pray. Then a knock on a door echoes. You say, I was a poet then. You don't have to. It's okay. Hold on. I want more time too. This is called, this is the title of my collection. It's called I Am Dirty, and that's the title of this book. I was born in a dirty month under a dirty blue sky, Mickey alligators, leaping dolphins nearby, all dirty. My dirty childhood dog pawed dirty steps on my dirty soul. We ate a dirty soup of mushrooms, barley, and beans while we watched the stillness of the dirty bay feed into the dirty Atlantic. We continued our dirty cross-pollination, hide and seeking, ricocheting, gliding dirty over each other, the dog, the parrot, the two cats, the Jack Dempsey in the long fish tank, the 1897 German Czech Oma, the steady Viennese, father's clocks, part hum, part dirty tick, the Israeli mother's robust dirty apple, yell overflowing with cumin and paprika, the child's tightly held number 2 pencil, grips on the dirty world. The child is beginning to think dirty thoughts. Van Gogh's ear, Beethoven's heart, Flaubert's parrots, cutting and pasting using the dirty dictionary. I guess there is a theme. It's language, right? It's language. And this is a poem I wrote when I was 19, so students listen to what you're in your writing. And I kind of took it out from, an old poem. It's never been published, but it made me think of what's going on today. The assault on women that's coming back today, unfortunately. And this is a 19-year-old saying, "Until nothing is left but the sparkling ruby slippers of the Good Witch of the East and Dorothy's tornado dreams. Until nothing is left but the brain the size of a nut and a heart the size of a fist, floating in thinning blood, no flesh, no ribs. Until nothing is left but a ring that keeps slipping off a double-jointed finger, a nail you polish over and over again. Until nothing is left but the absence of a voice never spoken, lurking behind ruby red and polished toes, bearing the weight of 100 houses, the lives of all the children. Until nothing is left but shriveled feet wrapped and stuffed to order, a shimmering tiara taking a walk along an extended stage, a showcase of packaged bones behind a dome of glass. Until nothing is left but the echoes of whistles, training us to foam at the mouth and fetch the desired bone. Until nothing is left but camouflaged flesh, beaten with words that are sticks made to disappear behind bruised foliage. Until nothing is left but an invisible war whose cruelties, kowtowing flowers, stamped yellow grass, bulldozed forests, ruby-toed women, hang down heavy from the weight of nothing, 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 until nothing is left but the space between the legs through which children come and go. Young feminist, old feminist now. Young feminist, old feminist.
Old? You?
So this is just a little homage, remembrance for the summer of 2006, the Great American Pie Company. I will say I lived briefly in the meatpacking district near the Hudson in a building full of fading artists. Ambulances woke me weekly, pulling out old bodies only when they began to smell. Tourists would not gather to watch what happens to once promising artists in rent-controlled apartments. I bought overpriced miniature blackberry pies at the Great American Pie Company down the street where Stella McCartney sold thong underwear. I attended violin concerts, listened to blues bands, saw old movies on the pier with new friends who laid out red and white tablecloths on the Manhattan grass, covered with Balducci seedless grapes, cheese and wine from Fairways. I waitressed with a PhD in philosophy, knew that when you ordered a porterhouse black and blue, it could walk off your plate. Knew to say, I can always add fire, but I can't take it away. The ceilings were high in my summer sublet on Bethune. Muriel Rookheiser and Diane Arbus once lived one floor up or down, depending on who you talked to. The elevators were fast. One never waited long to go where one needed to go. I was on the first-name basis with the doormen, Albie, Ramon, Victor, and Ron, who flagged cabs for me. The Spotted Pig was down the street. You could go there to eat or spot celebrities like Uma and De Niro slurping martinis. One day, Victor told me the ambulance came. A 90-year-old photographer clutched his book filled with pictures of Garbo and Dietrich to his gray-haired chest. This and a picture of his mother, all shot in a different century. Victor made the sign of the cross. I went out to get a piece of pie, a cup of coffee, light and sweet for Victor, praying I wouldn't die alone. All right, so I'm going to shift to, today's my husband's birthday and he's here. And I love her.
I think you have to be confused with somebody else.
And this is, so I wanted to read him some love poems. Love poems are always not so great, so forgive me. But Before I met him, I was pretty scattered, single and scattered, and then I met him, and he is my mooring, and so he helped me settle. And this is called The Days That Must Happen for Robert. Birds scatter in the sky like dice come alive. I rub my hands together and wish upon a sparrow. I ate a cherry tomato drizzled with olive oil, and I was satisfied. I was rich. In August, my mother was born, my father died. I long for people I've never met. My mother at 69, me at 50, my unborn child, waiting for me to find a city to settle in, waiting for me to stop this scattering, to settle into winter as though it were a foreign language, a book I have yet to write, a body I have yet to love. That's for him. And this is always bad, but I wrote this last night for him because I said, I have to write a love poem for Robert. So it might really be. It's called, I Was a Bad Zen Student. I was a bad Zen student. I made love in front of the Buddha, knocked him over and he spilled into 1,000 shards. I got hard-ons during Zazen. I wrote song lyrics during discussions, 13 ways of not paying attention. I stole a key to decode my koan. They finally kicked me out. And here I am, a Jew again. There's a lot of Jew stuff in here. My friend Rachel, who's not here, she's like, she's Jewish too, but she goes, you're really brave to do that Jewish stuff, and I still have to talk to her about why that's the case. So we're moving on to when I left today. My daughter's 5, and she said, so you're going to see Almost Pregnant? And I said, no, I'm going to read my own poetry. And she's like, about me? Because she's 5. I said, about you. So this is about her. And you know those little stars that you can stick to the ceiling? That's what this is about, and they glow in the dark. Yeah, this is called Arrival of the Stars. The stars arrive, but they're too small, and they need light to glow light. A flashlight by the bedside is recommended. We peel them off one by one. It takes time. You stand on a desk, I below you. We begin. I apply light to a star, and I hand it to you, barefoot on a desk made of walnut. There is no darkness yet, and it cannot be rushed. We wait until dusk arrives to see our day's work. Stars scatter the ceiling we have come to call sky, then heaven, then gold buds and infant's lips. Soon she will suckle my breast, a star of milk. One day we will give each small star a story. We will fatten them up, give flesh to light, however small. This is what we do. We wait for the stars to arrive, and we look. That's for Rachel. And this one's for my baby too. And it's called Voice. What will your voice sound like once it comes out of your body? Like a first rain, first snow, first wind, hail, sun, bird. I've become an idolater, Lord, almost a murderer, as I squeeze her in my midnight arms. How will I protect her, wrap her, tease her into this thing called language, the cut of life? How will I unwound her from the noise of redemption, so busy revealing itself outside the window at the bus stop in front of a pyramid of seedless grapes? And since Kitty, I love Wallace Stevens as well, and reality and the imagination are one. Is everybody familiar with his poem, The Snowman, right? So I was riffing on this in a class once. We were doing a free writing, and I came up with this. It's called Dirty Snowman. To comb through winter's disgust, unweave at night what was woven by day. I have been so rich cigars were named after me. I have beheld the feet of princes. The same dark sky crowns us all. The sky of green lilies and snarled teeth. The sky of plains and seagulls that blow in the same place as you, listener, who is lonely in marriage. You who are joined to the carving knife. Nothing but violence, the long afterbirth of wonder, placental wanderings in the seagull's beak. I'm no longer here, but you hear me. Now as a voice full of the same wind, I shagged with memory crystals, kiss the January sun alive on your head, full of the snow sound that is and isn't there, contentedly so. So that's a little Stevens. And let's see. I'm good?
Go on, you're good.
All right. I'll save another one there. Okay, this is, since we're in Philly, this takes place on South 9th, and what Kitty said at the end of her last fabulous poem, just looking, right? We're just looking, and then imagining, so reality on South 9th and imagination become one. This is called Insurance Report Investigating Acts of God. In the brick building on South and 9th, the woman sat and smoked a cigarette by the window. Windows her landlord lied about because the hot air seeped in the summer. Stalks her, that's the word she used. And in the winter, the goddamn cold comes in, the way her second husband used to with his muddy shoes. More than anything, she likes to look out the window and watch the tree across the street because she says the tree don't bite or scream or drop out of school like her grandson did or get itself pregnant like her daughter at 40 with a milkman kind of man. A woman her age has no business procreating as she lights a cigarette with the end of another. But you didn't come here to talk about how pretty that old cherry blossom tree is outside my ugly window, did you? You came to talk about what I seen when the lightning hit the tree and fell out that 91 Buick where those lovebirds carry on night after night, rocking that car until the birds begin to cry. I'd offer you a glass of something, but I never like cops or whatever official thing it is you are who seem to be, and my faucet's just a trickle, no pressure, so it'd take too long to fill up a whole glass, unless, of course, I added a few cubes of ice, which I have, but they're so old, believe me, you wouldn't want those cubes melting in something you're going to have to take inside you. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't want to make those ice cubes inside your body.
Woo!
All right. Okay. Dirty angel. I just moved in. Where are the forks? I long to be still after years of motion, to put up my feet, but yours beat me to it, heavy as a dead animal in my lap. Chrysanthemums along the path, a man with red and blue suspenders, chalk white hair, swings a golf club on a makeshift course. Again, the sun is setting. I'm far away from the sea. All day I chew on the word belief. By dusk, I know, like a bite down on aluminum with teeth of steel, a habit, like chewing tobacco. I spit black liquid. In a certain light, from a certain angle, I could be mistaken for an angel shedding tears of bile. Right. I'm going to read, I have a request, and I've never read this poem in public, but I'll dedicate this to my students. This is somewhat a sarcastic poem. I'm a little scared to read it, but I will read it. Think of it as a little SCTV, but a monologue. First real Jew. So it's a monologue in a sort of Hayden Carruth form, right? Before you, Professor, the only Jews I had seen were dead and starving. The emaciated corpses of men who had dug their own graves in Auschwitz, somewhere in Poland, I think it was. It was in high school, and I was in 10th grade. We came back from lunch, where I traded my tuna sandwich for Chris's chicken parmesan sandwich, as Nona makes him. Before the movie, the teacher told us we had the option not to watch the movie, and my mom had to sign a permission slip saying it was okay for me to watch this movie about the Jews during the Holocaust. I liked horror movies, plus I'm a guy, so there was no way I was going to be a wuss and have my mom not sign the paper giving me permission to see this movie. It was really short, too. I mean, you can sit through anything for like 30 minutes. Anyway, the teacher, Mr. Jabby, shut the lights, and we settled in to watch this movie about the Jews. After about 5 minutes, Kathy Noriarty got up and ran out of the room in these high-heeled boots she always wobbles in. Then her friend Diane Curdy followed her, and I didn't know if it was because she was so grossed out by it, or if she was just going to help her or smoke pot. Those girls love to smoke pot, especially during history class, which is generally really, really boring, because you can't change the past, right? What's done is done. These girls, they did things in pairs, you know? Halfway through the movie, Mr. Jabby paused it and asked us how we were all doing. He mentioned certain dates, too, and told Eric Johnston to sit up or leave the room. He's always slouching, and once he even fell asleep in class. During the most disgusting scenes, I just told myself it was like a video game and that it wasn't even real, though I kind of knew it was real and these were people and not actors, and that like 6 million of them died during this war. When was it? Like 200 years ago. And that they were like gay epileptics or gypsies or communists, but still, no one should have to die like that. Starving, I mean. You should at least get a last meal. Something good and tasty, like I would have a cookies and cream banana split with extra cookies, and then I would have lasagna with extra cheese and sauce like slathered all over the top. So anyway, we saw the film, and some of the girls like Carol and Gabriella were crying, and then there was Tommy. He was quiet and all red and just walked out of the room at the end. I think he's gay. And my mom says gay people are extra sensitive than the rest of us. You see, her brother, my uncle, is gay, and I guess she would know. But this is a long story. I tend to go on, my dad says, and he's working with me on this. For my last birthday, he hired me, my own personal life coach, to get me to be more concise and focused in my self-presentation. My dad says I need to cut to the chase if I want to go into business, and I so do. I mean, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm like 25. I just want to come to your office hours early in the semester to introduce myself and let you know how much I already like your class and how cool it is to finally meet a Jew who is alive and not skinny. I mean, you're not fat or anything. You're just, well, normal, you know, and how great it is to have you as a teacher this semester in English, because English is not my best subject, but I plan on getting A's in your class, and I'll do just about anything you ask in order to obtain my goal. I'm all about going beyond my very personal best. I don't know. All right, I'm going to close with 2 more poems, and that'll be the day. Okay. I will close with a mother poem, which is a daughter poem, and what other one? Okay. I'll close with a mother poem, and then a poem again about being a woman. Today my mother died again. Today my mother died again, her face in the morning puddles. My hip-high daughter stops to smell the roadside roses. It's my mother's inhalation. My mother nails mezuzahs in the doorways of her new Long Island house. I was not there for this ritual. In the next century, when I unscrew the nails, turning counterclockwise, the mezuzah loosens, falls. I peek inside its narrow slit to see God's word. Nothing. A dove scoots into my daughter's princess cape. Under that rock live 1,000 ants, so be careful where you step, Mama. You could scare them, and then you will die. So that's one. And then this is the last one I'll read tonight. When I Was a Woman, and it has an epigraph from Anthony Burgess's book on Ulysses, which is fantastic. Bloom, it's too small for me. Bloom undergoes many metamorphoses on Mabbott Street, and perhaps the least spectacular of these is his change of sex. When I was a woman, the branches bowed to me. The bus's wet roar made my ocean eyes tear. When I was a woman, all knowledge was a bread of thorns. My bird breasts raged for more. I was biblical, fallen, adrip with seed. Flowers bloomed when I breathed. I slipped into indecency, was arrested for impersonating an Italian heiress paralyzed from the neck down. When I was a woman, I built a room of my own. No wallpaper, no yellow, brick by brick with a fireplace that worked. When I was a woman, I slept alone and wept for more alone. I walked city streets buying time with broken meters. When I was a woman, I forgot nothing. Confucius, Roosevelt, Mussolini, Walt Disney were my children. Bad, selfish, lost, evil boy men. I was always hungry, stared at marble statues for hours. I loved chicken wings and pistachio ice cream, chilled champagne, and blackberries. I liked to read Neruda naked on a mountaintop in California where I could smell the ocean salt rise up, an offering just for me. This pleased me, Lord, it did. When I was a woman, the slender tires of 10-speed racing bikes aroused in me elegance and symmetry. Old horses trotting down Old City, Philadelphia on Constitution Square, carrying Alabama tourists, turned me into one myself, my mane blowing in the June wind, the gold specks in my gentle eyes, bulbous twilights, darkness reconsidered for pitch. When I was a woman, I liked the small-boned feet of princesses, the muscled hands of kings. 1 minute the sun, the next a door opens. The future pours in. Thank you.